Distinguished representative of Sri Lanka. You have the floor, Ambassador.
Thank you, Chair, for giving me the floor. May I, first of all, congratulate you, Ambassador Vinhas, for spearheading this committee, and I'm sure we are confident that in your hands, in your experienced hands, that we will move towards reaching greater heights this year than before. We assure to you Sri Lanka's cooperation in this undertaking. Mr. President, it is said that a stronger United Nations is necessary to build a resilient world. Efforts to make, therefore, the United Nations efficient, effective, and accountable must continue. Together with efforts to reform the Security Council, revitalize the General Assembly, and strengthen the Economic and Social Council. Regular consultations with member states, both formal and informal, must continue, as will regular interaction with the presidents of the Security Council and the Economic and Social Council and the Secretary General. It must be appreciated that the revitalization of the General Assembly is a political process, and its principal objective should be to strengthen the role of the General Assembly as the main deliberative, policy-making, and representative organ of the United Nations. In addition, my delegation believes that the attempts to undermine the role played by the General Assembly through perceived encroachment must be countered. Mr. President, revitalization efforts within the United Nations organization must be focused on several principal areas. Permit me the indulgence to refer to a few where revitalization must be undertaken. Strengthening the role of the Assembly is of utmost importance. It's virtually a sine qua non. The General Assembly being the main deliberative body of the UN, revitalization efforts must focus on enhancing its decision-making powers. Reforming the Security Council appears the buzzword in revitalization. The Security Council plays a vital role in maintaining international peace and security. They cannot be seen to abdicate that obligation. Revitalization efforts can be directed towards making the Security Council more representative, inclusive, and effective in addressing current global challenges. Thirdly, enhancing the effectiveness of the Secretariat. The Secretariat is responsible for carrying out the day-to-day work of the UN. Revitalization efforts can focus on streamlining and improving its functions, including through reforms in recruitment, decision-making processes, and budgetary practices. Strengthening coordination and cooperation between UN agencies is of equal importance. Promoting the engagement of civil society and non-state actors, although not altogether popular, must be given greater consideration having regard to contemporary events and the present global security instability. My delegation is of the considered view that when it comes to revitalization, we may also consider strengthening peacekeeping operations, address financial sustainability, prioritize the Sustainable Development Goals, strengthen the Human Rights Council, improve communication and outreach. So it is important, therefore, to note that revitalization efforts should be undertaken through inclusive and consultative processes involving member states, civil society, and other relevant stakeholders. So while reaffirming Resolution 73/341 of the 12th of September 2019 and 74/303 of the 4th of September 2020 and all of the previous resolutions adopted by consensus related to the revitalization of the General Assembly, my delegation would like to recall this Assembly of the role and authority of the General Assembly and the strict respect of the charter-based prerogatives and the division of work amongst the principal organs of the United Nations. There has been a sustained effort, I say, to make the work of the Assembly more focused and relevant. This was identified as a priority during the 58th session, and efforts continued at subsequent sessions to improve practices and working methods of the main committees. We might also recall that during the 70th session and the 71st session, the Assembly adopted landmark resolutions A/RES/70/305 and 71/323, which inter alia established an oath of office and a code of ethics for the presidents of the General Assembly and provided for informal interactive dialogues with candidates for the position of the President of the General Assembly. Mr. President, let me turn very quickly to the circumstances of small delegations. It has been a difficult task to attend to all the high-level and side events organized in parallel with the general debate. That is something that we must take into account. So let us remind ourselves that the first three words of the Charter, we the peoples, we must therefore move with vigor to bring to the United Nations closer to the people of the world, as observed at the high-level segment, while also recognizing cultural diversity. We must facilitate those interactions and make the UN forum a forum for all. We remain hopeful and have reason to believe that the working methods of the General Assembly could be made more meaningful under your leadership in times to come with the efforts in revitalizing its work. I conclude by highlighting the need to maintain transparency, democracy, inclusivity of all member states in this endeavor, which would be vital in realizing the targets envisioned under the 2030 agenda. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.